Hello, I'm Dan Donaldson, the founder of Urbanistica. We're going to look at some of the concepts and technology associated with our service. Well, Urbanistica begins with the premise that our lives are based on areas. The place that we live has an area around it that we're familiar with. A hospital will serve a particular area. If we go to the park, we have a local spot that we like to have picnics at, and an area around that we might favor. A cafe owner will know the area that most of our customers will come from. And so while we often organize things in terms of contiguous areas like postal codes, real life is a little more complicated. We use a complex series of ad hoc relationships to space to define what we know and what we're interested in. A tool that can define these relationships can define a new kind of social networking based on discovery of resources within defined areas and based on the broadcasting or sending of messages inside those areas. And Urbanistica is a service that's about areas that does precisely that. It's a service and a social networking tool that captures that reality. So Urbanistica does several things. Urbanistica users define areas that matter to them. They can associate information with an area, so having laid out an area that says this is my neighborhood, a restaurant or a store within it can be associated with it. In other words, Urbanistica captures the local knowledge of an area. It aggregates areas for a given user location, as we'll see shortly, and users can broadcast messages within their area. Let's look at how some of this works. It's a very simple process to define an area. A user goes to a map embedded in Urbanistica and defines an area by clicking it out. They can define it and redefine it at any time. API access means that Urbanistica areas can also be defined in third-party applications and sites, adding functionality or richness to their registration or functionality. Users' locations aggregate areas. So when I land on the map or auto-locate myself using a mobile device, Urbanistica will sew together out of all the neighborhoods that I'm located in a kind of composite neighborhood, and from that derive the various types of information that have been attached to all the different areas, giving me in effect a kind of local snapshot of the area. This snapshot can include messages, information like reviews as we see here, and user profiles that reflect the locality that we're in with a visualization of what that refers to in the map above. This information can become fairly voluminous, and so to simplify things, a system of tags is used. These allow us to search for resources in the immediate neighborhood that Urbanistica defines, not only by location and by name, but by function as defined in tags and by the people who know the area and know these resources. Tags can be combined to create composite lists, and you'll notice that it's a fairly granular search that is also done without any typing. Where typing is used, it's used to narrow down the tags, as it has been done here to find all the tags related to coffee, which quickly allows us with a bit of typing in 2 clicks to find all the locations in the immediate area related to coffee. So we can make some choices about where we're going to have our next cup of mud. Messages are sent to areas. In this case, a user located in an area common to 3 different areas sees the messages from all 3 of the people who own those areas. And as we move around, we see the messages change pertaining only to the areas we are currently within. So this is a new form of hyperlocality and brings up some of the unique features of Urbanistica. First of all, it's ubiquitous because everywhere we go, we're in somebody's neighborhood, and everyone has a neighborhood that they belong to. Urbanistica has a context almost everywhere. This ability to discover resources and to broadcast information allows users to find others with similar interests or complementary skills in any immediate area they find themselves, whether their own area or an area they're not familiar with. Messages confined to a limited area allow targeted effective messaging for many purposes, as we will see. And through our API, we allow other services to add their channel that piggybacks onto local knowledge of or definitions of hyperlocality, which allows services without a hyperlocal dimension to gain it through use of Urbanistica. This creates what we call reusable hyperlocal contexts. In other words, where a single restaurant defined in a service like Yelp cannot be reused for very much, discovering an area and a user allows many rich connections in a hyperlocal forum to be exploited and discovered. Let's look at some of the API scenarios we're working on that are built on these tools. In the first case, we'll look at connecting locals with similar interests. A tennis club defines an area that it considers local to it, within which it wishes to promote its service. By broadcasting a message, the players who are within that area will hear about it, perhaps through a service like jump.com, which is a service online that brings tennis players and courts together. Player 1 is interested in the tournament that the tennis club is promoting, and so he broadcasts a message out to the area he has defined, looking for a doubles partner to play with. Player 2 receives that message and can respond directly to Player 1 with a private message that confirms he's interested in playing, and jump.com can intervene to rank the player and convene a court at the local club. In another scenario, we're looking at how real estate could benefit from this form of hyperlocality. In our scenario, a services company, like in this case OBO, might use the Urbanistica API to offer a find an agent service to existing clientele. Within their own website, which thousands of real estate agents visit every day, OBO would offer a service that would allow various real estate agents to join and define areas that correspond to their focus on area, much as real estate agents use flyers today. Having established that database and charge a service for it, perhaps on a deferred basis when the real estate agent is actually accessed, users of Urbanistica can use the iPhone app perhaps, or the web app, to locate themselves on a point of the map and discover listings of all the agents ordered by localness for the exact location at which they stand right now. Users will see profiles, history, and testimonials and so forth that will make the process of choosing an agent that knows about the area they're interested in more rational, more reliable. Here's a third scenario we'll talk a little bit about: finance and credit. In the finance and credit world, we know that providing localness metrics has a very high potential value, because extending credit to those who are local to a business carries lower risks in general, and because businesses value local customers, giving incentives or offering incentives and building customer relationships a more rational process. For example, a company like Bling Nation, which is aimed at small communities with a payment system that has as its premise the localness of businesses and members of that community. However, the model is not applicable to large urban areas. So if we focus on providing localness metrics based on the areas defined in a variety of channels to Bling Nation, it will allow them to expand their business into urban areas. Obviously, this has the effect of greatly increasing their customer base. In this scenario, in a given neighborhood, every merchant with which Bling Nation has a relationship can define their own localness, the area they're interested in promoting to, much as the tennis club did, and they can associate that area with offers, discounts, incentives, and tools to build relationships between customers whose home base lies inside of those areas. There are three uses that we see Urbanistica's underlying technology being used for, besides the web application, which allows a form of community conversation, a form of social networking which currently does not exist. Hope you found this interesting. My name is Dan Donaldson. I'm the founder of Urbanistica. Please contact me at danfdonaldson@gmail.com.